distinguished on the dais and friends who are participating in this People's Parliament. As I understand, the main objective is to approve the education policy to be followed by you in a later period. But I would like to make one preliminary remark that I extend my appreciation and congratulations to the Save Public Education organization who have been pursuing the cause of education, promoting the cause of education which is scientific, secular, democratic and universal. Now since you will be discussing the draft policy, I would like to take this opportunity to present before you within about 20 minutes time the emerging issues and the challenges confronting higher education in the context of new education policy 202. And if those points which I will present before you, if they can be of any use, please try to think over it and incorporate in your policy suggestion. New education policy is being the latest policy after 1986 policy and program of action of 1992. It is useful that we take new education policy for discussion and the emerging challenges. One of the reasons why we need to discuss new education policy is that the goal of new education policy, if you look at the document, is to transform the complete school and higher education system in the country. It doesn't focus on one aspect. It intends to transform the entire education system, school and higher education, number one. Number two, that without taking into consideration the views of different states, it is going at a very, very fast rate from the UGC and from the ministry to put this policy into practice with a certain amount of arm twisting. That is, those who refuse to implement it, they are not given funding or restricted funding. So the policy is becoming a reality. It is in this context I will raise 3-4 issues before you for your consideration. The People's Education Policy is based around the principle that you have presented here, that it promotes to scientific education, not the speculative education, the secular education, and democratic and universal education. These are the core principles on the basis of which your policy is being framed. It is my view, after studying the new education policy in greater detail, which is difficult to understand the internal motive behind the policy, but yet I have been able to, in my view, able to grasp the intention of this policy, that it violates all your principles. It violates the scientific principle which constitute the base of the policy. It violates secular principle of policy. It violates obviously the democratic and universal access to the education policy. Let me take one by one very quickly. Is it a democratic policy? The 2020. If you look from the very beginning, you can see that this policy has not been framed in consultation with the state and stakeholders. When I look at the documents, you know the history. It began with one cabinet secretary, retired cabinet secretary in 2016, preparing a report, a cabinet secretary preparing a report for higher education. It was criticized that no academics were involved, so a revised report was prepared with Rajput and others being involved. Even that was criticized, so finally Kasturi Ranjan committee came up. They submitted the report in 6 months. So one of the limitations of this report is that this report is based not on the basis of a detailed study of the higher and school education system, but it is based on individual wisdom of the member and the advanced agenda and and best practices and imitation from the US and Germany. But the major point is that it is not democracy in the sense that the states are not consulted. The education is in the concurrent list. The role of the center is only to the extent of coordination and maintenance of standard. The rest is with the state. There is a standing committee, what is called CAP committee, who is member of the Minister of Education of the state. They have to be consulted on the common issues, but that has not been done. They say that they have prepared, they have consulted the people. I was told that they received about more than 2 lakh suggestions from the people. Under the RTI, an inquiry was made, information was sought that of the 2 lakh suggestions, please give us an executive summary which you might have used to incorporate the view of the people. The reply was that we haven't done. So the intention was not to seek the opinion of the people, the intention was to just have a sham show and then continue with what they want to continue. So this is important point, and now the latest thing is that all the 3 organizations, University Grant Commission, NAC and others, are being merged into a higher education council with the President of India as the President and the Principal Secretary of Higher Education as the General Secretary, completely centralizing the decision-making process with the government. That has been the tendency. So that is the first point, that this policy and the administration that will follow, governance that will follow, will not be democratic. It will be authoritative and imposing, number one. Number 2 is it universal? Now by universal, your goal is that the education should be available to everybody. Now if you look at which means that the education being a public good, everybody, poor and non-poor, should have an access to education. And therefore, to begin with, the education was in a public domain. In 15th and 16th, it is the government which started universities, schools and colleges. But despite that government policy and because of the change in the policy later on, you find that there are very inconvenient and massive disparities in access to higher education and educational attainment. And the new education policy has a very, very small section on inclusive education. No detailed discussion, 3 to 4 pages. Rest of it is on quality. I'll come to the quality. Now, what is the status of the universal access? The latest data is 2017 and 18 of National Sample Survey. If you look at the enrollment rate of the lower income group, the bottom income group enrollment rate is only 13%, and that of top enrollment is 53%. That is the disparity. As you go down in the income ladder, the enrollment rate gets reduced. Casual labor, it is only 14%, while the all India average is 16%. So you can see that the intergroup inequality in access to education is very high. Same is the story with the social group. As against the all India average of 30% or 26%, the scheduled tribes enrollment rate is only 5%, scheduled caste is 16%, OBC 48%, and higher caste is close to 40%. Inter-social group disparity, interpersonal disparities based on income, and also the gender disparity. Now this is the status of universal education and access to education. And there is nothing in new education policy to remedy this. Now, one of the reasons, I would not like to spend on the reason as such, I would like to only present the issue. One of the reasons is the massive privatization of higher education and withdrawal of the state. When we started the education in 50s and the 60s, it was the public education system under the leadership of Congress at that point of time. But in the 90s, the state withdrew. Even the private aided, which is the philanthropic private sector role, that also declined, and the self-financing privatization has increased at a very speed. As on today, half of the universities, 1,130 universities, half of the universities are self-financing in private, including the state university. 65% of the colleges, of the 43,000 odd colleges, are private, self-financing. And 67% of the standalone institutions, which are about 11,000, providing nursing and training institute, are private. So more than half university and close to 70% of your sector is private, and that's the major reason as to why there is unequal access to higher education. I do not want to take your time and share the fee. The fee charged by the private institution is almost 4 to 5 times more than that is charged by the government and government institution. So this is the situation with respect to universal. I have many more data. I don't want to spend time on that aspect. But there is also high dropout. And dropout of the poor is in the range of 22% as against 6% of the top quartile, top income. So the problem of unequal access to education has become very serious, and I have recommendations. I don't want to share with them. They are made in the Karnataka Karnataka Commission report. Niranjan Agga is there. He has worked very hard for the school report, but I won't go to the suggestion as such because there is no time. Now, coming to the secular and scientific education, which is your principle on which your policy is going to be set up. I think the new education policy undermined both the principles. There is something called Indian knowledge system which has been developed under the new education policy. Now that Indian knowledge system insists that while preparing curriculum and course content, the knowledge produced in India should be the part of it. Now that's a good suggestion, nobody objects to that, and that's being already done. When we teach chemistry or physics or mathematics, we already take into account what has been done in India, and then we adapt with the Western scholarship. But here the purpose is different. The purpose is that it should be rooted into Indianness. It should be rooted into Indian culture. And as a result, there are two things, there are two challenges before you, is that if you look at the course content of the that has come now, I think 11 subject course content has been issued by the University Grant Commission under the Curriculum Framework 2023, and same in the Curriculum Framework of the NCERT. You discover two prominent things which go against your principle, which you have to include in your recommendation, namely scientific. If you look at all these 11 courses, particularly political science, I have gone through it. Economics, of course, the Kautilya and others comes in, but political science and philosophy, what you discover is that they define what is truth. How do we identify the truth? Now, it is already a theory that based on logic and scientific evidence, the truth is established. That's what Buddha also said. Here the truth is all that contained in Vedas, all that contained in Smritis. It's permanent, non-fallible, not subject to be changed. You read the course content of some of the courses. The University Grant Commission has a course which is displayed on their website called Mulya Prabhav, moral education, and course content is given. It, for the namesake, it refers to other religion and constitution, but basically the course content focuses on Vedas, Smritis. It quotes Shankaracharya, it quotes Upanishads. So one of the aspects of this Indian knowledge system is that it is going to be unscientific and based on speculation, based on belief, based on Smritis, memories, based on oral tradition. That is the greatest danger to the course content that is being offered to you through curriculum framework. Now coming to the secular education, that is the last point I will make and then stop. Secular education is going to be the major casualty under the new education policy, and this is not in theory but it has been put into practice. The Article 28(1) of the Indian Constitution says that all institutions which are supported by the state, aided by the state, are not supposed to teach the philosophy of one particular religion. This is the provision of Article 28. There has been a debate right from 1982, the first Education Commission report, Calcutta, till the Radhakrishna Commission report and Kothari Commission report. The issue of moral education and religious education has been under discussion. The issue was finally settled down in Constitutional Assembly by Dr. Ambedkar. And he said that the research and teaching, research and Understanding religious ideology is allowed, it should be done. There should be a separate department of philosophy and religion, no restriction on that. But you cannot teach philosophy of one religion to the student. That is how they define Article 28. Even at the time of Radhakrishna Commission report, he's been religious philosopher, he set up a committee to develop the moral values to be imparted to the student based on the religion. And committee came with Radhakrishna and said that we can't do it. They say that the philosophy and teaching on moral issues of different religions are contradictory. Buddhism and Islam and other religions talk about equality, Brahmanism talk of inequality. We cannot have this a natural morality drawn from the different religion. Therefore, that idea was abandoned. Now, what the new education policy, as I said, is doing is bringing the Brahmanical values, Brahmanical religious value in the course structure. There is nothing like Hinduism. You must remember that. Hinduism is a facade created by the particular organization. Hinduism is a geographical word. It's not an ideological word. What exactly is the Brahmanism, which has a religious philosophy, which has a social philosophy in terms of caste. And that religious philosophy is being, and social philosophy is being incorporated into a curriculum framework. So it goes against the constitution as such, as far as the education sector is concerned. It's already being done for the last several decades. Congress is also to a certain extent part of it. There are 17 Sanskrit universities in this country and about 1100 Sanskrit colleges. Now these colleges and these universities are under the provision of promoting Sanskrit language, classical language. Sanskrit, Pali, Prakrit, Telugu, Tamil. Only language. But if you go and look at the curriculum framework of the Sanskrit University, on the name of language, they teach language, but they teach religion also. And mainly teach the Brahmanical religion. They are already violating Article 28 of the Constitution. So I think that one of the major danger is the undermining of secular education, undermining of secular education and preaching one particular religion to the student. Now, so all principles on which your policy is going to be based or you have based are being violated and undermined very seriously by the new education policy, and there it is being put into the practice. I did not give example how 20, 40, 20, 25 books written by the RSS are made compulsory in Madhya Pradesh, how they read a bachelor degree in Gita, and President will tell you what is happening in Gujarat. So that's already in the practice. So friend, I would like to just summarize is that these are some of the problems, but one problem I'll mention and then stop. That is the unequal access to education. The figure I have given to you, interpersonal inequality in educational attainment rate, inter-caste and tribal inequality in educational attainment rate, interreligious also. Muslim lag far too behind in terms of educational attainment. Gender disparity, there is nothing much in 2020 policy, but if you look at the policy, I just want to make you aware, and if you can think over it and bring it into your policy, is that all the recommendations made by the new education policy on different aspects undermine equal access. Let us take the first, the structure of the university. The recommendation is to have a unitary university as against the affiliating system. We have an affiliating system right from 1882 or 1880 that they want to convert within 50 years into a unitary system based on the USA or like IIT. But they made one particular point that you should have a large multidisciplinary university located in the district place, which means they say that the colleges located in the small village, large villages, small town will be gradually dismantled. The way the schools are being dismantled from the villages and converted into attached to a large senior secondary school. Now imagine the advantage of geographical spread of the education institution. Colleges provide easy and cheap access. Students travel by bus, bicycle and watch. That will go away within 15 years. Undermine the equal access. If you set up all university, in fact the new education policy has declared that they will set up a big university in 370 districts, which they haven't done, but that's the goal. Duration of the degrees. The graduate is of a two duration, 3 year and 4 year. There is no justification why there should be a 4 year bachelor. By increasing 1 year to the bachelor, you make the education costly for the poor. And so their access will go down. As it is, there has been a significant decline in enrollment. I don't want to name the state. There are a couple of states where the net enrollment has gone down. So you are increasing the duration of the bachelor and bringing a hierarchy and caste system within the degrees. 3 year bachelor, 4 year bachelor, 1 year postgraduate, 2 year postgraduate. Then after 1 year, if you withdraw, you will give you a certificate. After 2 years, we will give you a diploma. A hierarchy of educational degrees which will indirectly encourage the student to get a dropout. But the purpose is to stop the onward march of the masses to the higher education, PhD and master. That should be confined to us. That has been education, has been our tradition. Why are we entering into the higher education and raising the question? Then All India test. The admission test which is being done today is done by the university and by the colleges. No, there has to be All India test. Already 47 central universities have a common test which has created a disaster for several universities. I know I am from JNU. JNU became #1 university within almost 16, 17 years simply because it has some unique characteristic. One of them is admission. Earlier, there was a written test and viva for both master and PhD. And our teacher goes to 70 places in the country, Kathmandu, Dhaka, take the interview, take the written test and come back and call all the students face-to-face interview. And you get best of the student. That is one of the reasons why JNU has cropped up. It came in almost in #1 position even compared to the 150-year-old Kolkata, Madras and Bombay University because of one of the reasons is admission. No, we won't have the center level test and admission. We will have a all India test, borrowing the American principle. But that has affected the access of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and poor with this common mechanical test. This is one thing. Then there are other aspects of this policy which have an underlying motive of checking for ensuring an equal access to the poor. So I have mentioned the three: the unitary university, the different duration, and the national test. And two more: foreign university campuses will be open here. As it is, the low-income group have a difficult to get into the private institution. No scholarship and fellowships are given adequate. Now you want to bring in private foreign player to set up the campuses, and they have been given complete freedom in terms of fee and the recruitment of faculty. Will the poor get access? No. There are alternatives. For all of these, there is alternative. Let me summarize and conclude my speech. There are alternatives. The Radhakrishna Commission, Kothari Commission, undertook a detailed study of the education institution. They went to colleges in the university, 20 colleges, got the data. If you read the Radhakrishna Commission report, Kothari report, they give the data, analyze it, and then give recommendation. New education policy has not studied the higher education, school education at all. It is based on individual wisdom of the member, and it is based on the best practices and imitation. In fact, you have to read the preface by Kasturi Rangan, who says that in the very first meeting, I came to know that we have to follow an out-of-box approach. Because there are nothing in the box, because they have not done studies. So therefore, it is based on this kind of a consideration. Therefore, because the objective is something different, you don't require study. Objective is already set in, and then circular after circular are issued. Friend, these were some of the thoughts that I thought I should share with you, and if they are of any use, please try to take care into account. We have dealt all these issues and given alternatives in the Karnataka Education Commission report, about which I don't want to say anything. It is in the custody of the government at the moment. Thank you very much. I appreciate and congratulate you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your very valuable inaugural address. So, friends, next I call upon Mr. Jawar Sarkar, former Union Cultural Secretary, All of us are members of the People's Parliament, MPP, but we have one ex-MP with us, Mr. Jawal Sarkar. I request him to please speak.